Something unusual is happening above your head tonight, and almost nobody watching a normal horoscope video will catch it. The same moon that lights your evening sky is, right now, sitting in two different signs depending on which system of astrology you ask. One tradition says it just walks straight into your own sign. Another says it settled quietly into the sign before yours. Both are correct. And for Gemini, on this particular Saturday, that split screen in the heavens explains almost everything you are about to feel today. The bigger picture. Start with the slower, heavier story, because it is the one shaping your whole month, not just today. Uranus is currently transiting through Gemini itself, and in Western tropical astrology, this is treated as a genuine identity event. Uranus does not nudge. It cuts. It takes the scissors to the image you have been carrying of yourself, the one in the mirror, the one on your social feed, the one other people quietly expect you to keep performing. That is uncomfortable while it is happening, but the discomfort is doing something specific. It is clearing space. What grows in that space tends to feel less like loss and more like breathing room. Once the initial jolt passes, layer today's faster-moving sky on top of that. In the Western framework, the moon has entered Gemini and stepped into your first house of self, the house of identity, mood, and personal expression. Because it is moving through the same sign Uranus already occupies, the moon is essentially picking up Uranus's static electricity for the day. That combination sharpens your mind, quickens your tongue, and makes you restless in a very specific way. You will notice thoughts arriving faster than usual, and a pull toward conversation, movement, or change of scenery. Here is where the split screen comes in, because Vedic, or sidereal, astrology calculates the zodiac roughly 24 degrees earlier than the Western tropical system. The same physical moon that Western astrologers place in Gemini is, in the Vedic chart, still finishing its pass through Taurus. So while the tropical lens sees a live wire moon activating your identity and colliding with Uranus's restlessness, the sidereal lens sees something almost opposite, a settled, grounded moon offering you calm before it moves on. Neither tradition is wrong. They are describing the same sky through different mathematical windows, and that is precisely why today can feel like two moods layered on top of each other, an electric mind sitting inside a surprisingly peaceful body. Love. That tension between electricity and calm shows up first in how you connect with people. The same Moon-Uranus charge that is sharpening your thinking is also sharpening your appetite for verbal sparring. You may sense a disagreement forming before anyone's even said anything provocative, and if nothing surfaces naturally, there is a real temptation to go looking for one just to feel the friction. Resist that pull. Winning an argument you invented rarely feels as good as you think it will, and it tends to cost you credibility you will want later. But here is the more interesting current running underneath. In the Western view, the moon is also forming a trine to Venus today, which is a far gentler aspect than the Uranus contact, and it tends to boost warmth, charm, and a genuine desire to connect without dragging seriousness into it. So you may notice yourself drawn to a light exchange, a new introduction, or a playful message, and the response you get back could be warmer than you expected. Enjoy that. Just watch the pattern that tends to follow. Attention feels wonderful right up until someone wants consistency from you, and that is often when restlessness creeps back in. This is where two different lenses genuinely agree with each other, where the psychological and evolutionary traditions look at Venus's current placement. They emphasize the risk of old emotional patterns quietly reasserting themselves, especially the habit of treating attention as enough and depth as optional. Singles may feel a spark towards someone with a notably calm, emotionally deep temperament, the kind of person astrologers often associate with the water signs. If that spark shows up, the invitation is not to promise forever. It is simply to stay present long enough to find out whether there is actual substance underneath the charm, instead of walking away the moment things start asking something real of you. Career. Carry that same electric focus into your work, because it is not going anywhere just because the subject changed. The Uranus-charged moon that makes you quick with words also makes you quick with ideas, and today favors channeling that energy towards something concrete rather than into office friction or unnecessary debate. If you can feel a disagreement brewing with a colleague, that same energy redirected becomes momentum on an actual goal. The choice is not between being sharp or being calm. It is between spending your sharpness on conflict or spending it on progress. The first house moon adds another layer here. With your personal identity so activated, you may feel an unusually strong pull to control the narrative around how you are seen at work, which project you are associated with, what impression lands after a meeting. That is useful instinct if you aim it at one clear priority instead of scattering it across 5 loosely related tasks, just because your mind keeps generating options. Pick the conversation, the pitch, or the update that actually moves something forward, and let the rest wait. Honey. Financial decisions today benefit from the same discipline. A restless, idea-generating mind is wonderful for spotting opportunities, but it is less reliable for evaluating which ones deserve your money right now. Before committing to any spend or agreement, especially anything appealing purely because it is new and stimulating, give it the kind of pause you would give a heated conversation you are tempted to start. If it still looks sound after that pause, it probably is. There is also a quieter financial theme running through today connected to the calmer, Taurus-toned undercurrent sitting beneath your usual pace. Traditions that emphasize steady, earned resources tend to favor today for reviewing what you already have rather than chasing something new. A grounded look at your existing resources, subscriptions, or ongoing costs could reveal more value than any fresh opportunity would. Health. Here is what makes today genuinely unusual, and it is worth sitting with for a second. Right now, the exact same moon is technically finishing one sign in one system while starting the next sign in another. Your body does not know which chart is correct. It is simply responding to both signals at once, which is likely why you might feel wired and settled within the same hour, sharp-minded one moment, and unexpectedly at peace the next. Most people watching a horoscope today will only hear one half of that story. You now understand both halves, and that alone changes how confusing today's mood swings will feel. Emotionally, the guidance converges from more than one direction here. When feelings spike, especially irritation or the urge to prove a point, pausing before reacting tends to serve you far better than responding in the heat of the moment. That pause is also how you interrupt an old pattern rather than repeating it. The same tendency toward defensive sharpness that these transits tend to stir up in Gemini specifically. Notice what is quietly draining your energy today, whether that is a person, an obligation, or a habit you have outgrown, and treat trimming it as legitimate self-care rather than something to feel guilty about. On the more traditional Vedic side of things, some practitioners might suggest planetary remedies for stabilizing lunar energy, things like specific gemstones or mantras. It is worth being clear that gemstone prescription in Vedic astrology depends entirely on an individual's full birth chart, including planetary strength and current life period, and it is never something that applies universally to an entire sign. A far safer and more universal option is simply wearing a color associated with today's steadying influence, or spending a few quiet minutes journaling before your mind speeds up for the day. Home and family. At home, the instinct to protect your peace matters as much as anything on your schedule. If people around you seem determined to stir irritation, whether through comments, complaints, or simple restlessness of their own, you are not obligated to absorb it. Treat any pocket of calm you find today as something to guard rather than something to hand over the moment someone else wants your attention on their terms. This is also a good day to notice who you have been quietly covering for. If there is a family member or friend who consistently takes more than they give back, today's clarity makes that imbalance easier to see and, importantly, easier to stop excusing. That is not coldness. That is the same boundary-setting energy running through your relationships today, just applied closer to home. Travel in spirit. If you are weighing a trip today, particularly by road, patience is worth more than speed. The same restless, quick-reacting energy that sharpens your mind can also make you impatient behind the wheel or careless with timing, so building an extra room rather than rushing is the wiser move. If travel is not essential today, this is a fine day to let it wait. Spiritually, today's real invitation is to notice the gap between your fast mind and your calmer body, and to let the calmer part lead for once. The old image Uranus has been quietly cutting away is not disappearing to leave you with nothing. It is making room for a version of you that does not need constant stimulation to feel alive. Sit with that thought for a moment, because it is the quiet undercurrent beneath everything else happening today. Lucky signs. Yellow carries favorable energy for you today, tied to the steadier undercurrent running beneath your usual pace. The window between 5 and 7 in the evening tends to feel especially smooth, a good stretch for anything that benefits from calm timing. Water sign energy shows particular warmth toward you today, especially in matters of connection, and Venus's gentle current suggests charm comes easily without much effort on your part. Today's guidance. If today has a single through line, it is this. Your mind is moving faster than your circumstances require, so the real skill is not generating more options, it is choosing one and trusting it. Let the sharper energy fuel a real goal instead of a pointless argument. Let the calmer undercurrent protect your mood instead of getting talked out of it. And when you notice an old pattern rising, the defensiveness, the need to be right, the habit of covering for people who do not deserve it, treat that noticing itself as the win. You do not need certainty about where any of this leads by tonight. You just need to stay curious about what you are learning, the same way you started this very story.